Imagine you're walking backwards through this totally claustrophobic, pitch-black labyrinth, and the air is just thick with that artificial fog that tastes, vaguely like cheap vanilla.
Oh, I know exactly that taste.
Yeah. And there's this deafening industrial metal music just vibrating through the floorboards. Strobe lights are violently slicing through the dark. And then, out of nowhere, this towering figure with a sparking chainsaw lunges right out of the shadows at you.
I love it, chasing them. I've had people trip over each other. Just chasing them through. Doing that.
Which is terrifying enough on its own.
Speaking of the host, Spooky Kisses is not just standing there asking polite questions in the lobby. She is the bait.
Oh, 100%.
We're getting ready to go in, and I'm sure they're going to torture me because they all know I'm Spooky Kisses.
She has to walk through the attraction entirely alone, and her terror on screen is palpable.
She frequently jokes that she is, quote, just the jerk with a microphone, while Rich does all the heavy lifting.
But her vulnerability is really the anchor of the show.
That genuine vulnerability is absolutely the secret sauce. Because fans of the horror genre are incredibly perceptive. They can spot staged reality television a mile away.
Here. They were at Fright Farm. Look at this guy. This is Fright Farm. This is our poster.
Oh, totally. You know when someone is faking a scream.
Like seeing people scream and even making them laugh at the end of the night, it's always a great time, so that's the biggest thing.
So when audiences are binge-watching Spooky Kisses haunts on streaming platforms like Prime Video, Tubi, and Screambox, they're sticking around because the fear is authentic.
Spooky isn't acting.
No. When she screams, it is an involuntary, primal reaction.
It didn't go.
And it connects with the viewer because they know they would be reacting the exact same way.
Yeah, the camera captures the raw reaction. But what really hooks me is what happens before the doors even open. The show doesn't just treat the monsters as, obstacles. It treats them as artists.
How do they build these magnificent sets?
So I make it in such a way that we can turn this around, and that beam there that you see the rope on, we just put up, which represents this here. So that's why I make the model the way I do, so we can take it apart and just look and concentrate beam by beam.
They really do.
Yeah.
Rich and Spooky spend hours in the makeup rooms, surrounded by the smell of spirit gum and liquid latex, just interviewing the actors.
Which begs a fascinating question, who actually chooses to spend their weekends screaming in a dark hallway?
Did you know there is a Reaper here, and you will meet him? You're going to meet that Reaper, but I don't really think they wrote the song about that.
Well, the psychological profile of a scare actor is completely contrary to what you might expect. The documentary team visits this iconic attraction called Haunted Overload in Lee, New Hampshire.
Oh, yeah. And Spooky actually mentors under a veteran scare actor there named Emily Couillard.
And Emily's journey into the industry is so telling.
Welcome to Haunted Overload.
Welcome to Haunted Overload. Emily is not only a haunter, but a member of the build team, working on Overload's spectacular creations.
Mama. I've never seen a pink chainsaw before. We painted it. It's sparkly. It's got glitter on it.
Her husband Jeff is a prop maker, and he essentially had to drag her into volunteering for a couple of nights just to help out.
Yeah, but fast forward a few years, and she is fully addicted to the craft. And she articulates the psychology behind it beautifully. She says that when you put on that mask and step into the fog, you shed your everyday identity.
You kind of feel very powerful when you can scare someone. And then just my favorite thing, and not a lot of the actors are really like this, but my favorite thing is that if I can't scare somebody, I immediately try to make them laugh.
Emily also revealed this psychological tactic that I just found brilliant.
Oh, the comedy pivot?
Yes. She explained that you can't terrify every single person who walks through the door. Some people just don't startle. So her rule is, if you can't make a patron scream, your immediate backup plan is to make them laugh.
So there's a gap in my voice. So if I go high, just...
It is a touch haunt. We try not to go for butts, but...
Something I get a lot is, you look like a Ghostbuster.
But now, imagine experiencing all of that chaos, and instead of running away, you have to hold your ground, perfectly balance a 15-pound 6K cinema camera rig and smoothly track the terrified reactions of the person standing right in front of you.
So this is my haunt rig. This is what I use for going through the scary part of the haunted house where it's all dark and black and everything else. I've got there's a kind of a weird contraption.
I mean, it is the absolute definition of a high-stakes sensory overload environment.
Today, we are serving up the official behind-the-scenes companion to this incredible independent documentary series called Spooky Kisses Haunts. And our mission today, we are going to unpack the raw, relentless grit required to film this massive indie production.
When you layer all of that together, you get this incredible masterclass in how an entire industry is built just on manufacturing temporary fear.
So let's jump straight into the production side. Because the visual quality of Spooky Kisses Haunts, you would immediately assume there's this massive network television crew hiding in the shadows.
Oh yeah, you'd think there are lighting directors, sound mixers, grips everywhere.
But the reality is completely different and, frankly, a lot more impressive.
We're on our way to Pennhurst, and Rich is just putting stuff in the car, like all the camera equipment. Every night, we have to take all the expensive camera equipment and drone and everything out, bring it up to the hotel. In the morning, we bring it back down, and we don't get out usually till like midnight.
Way more impressive. I mean, this is a driven, hyper-lean, independent production. The core team is just a husband and wife duo hailing from New Hampshire.
That's wild.
Yeah. You have the host, Beverly Thomas, who goes by her stage name, Spooky Kisses.
This is the women's room at Laurel's House of Horrors. Watch this. There's a scary lady up there. And then there's this dead person in the stall.
And then you have the producer, director, and lead cameraman, Rich Perry.
It's 9:57 a.m. and it's September 2nd, 2022. And the reason I sound so tired is because I haven't been sleeping.
And the hustle here is just staggering.
You know, this what it goes into creating haunt and creating all the props and all of the...
Have you ever wondered what goes into creating all these props and creating all this artwork? We're going to show you now. We're going to meet up with Andrew. Got me, and you missed it.
It's insane. And their travel schedule, I mean, since 2021, Rich and Spooky have logged over 12,000 miles on the road.
That is a brutal pace.
But what I discovered about myself is I'm a really good planner, I'm a really good organizer, but I'm just good at unorganizing things.
It is day two of Reaper's Revenge, and this is the easy day.
To put that into perspective, you know, the haunted attraction industry operates on this incredibly compressed timeline.
Right, because it's seasonal.
Exactly. These massive venues are generally only open for this tiny 6-week window from late September to early November. So the filmmakers can't just casually schedule a shoot in the spring.
They gotta get it while it's hot.
Right. They have to hit the road and run this grueling marathon. They arrive at a haunt hours before the gates open, shoot all their behind-the-scenes interviews.
Or it could be that girl in the haunt that keeps going, I'm gonna feed you like a baby bird. I'm gonna feed you like a baby bird. That girl? That's so gross.
Terrifying.
Yeah, it is. It's nasty.
Love how creative our actors are.
Wait, and then they still have to film the actual live walkthroughs.
Yeah, for 10 to 12 hours straight over a weekend. They get barely any sleep and then just drive to the next state.
Okay, I want to pause on the actual act of filming those walkthroughs because looking at the production notes, there is this glaring technical contradiction that I really need you to explain. So the notes say Rich uses high frame rates and incredibly fast shutter speeds to capture the scares.
Right.
But like, if you know anything about cameras, a fast shutter speed physically cuts off the light hitting the sensor. So if you are in a pitch black haunted maze, a fast shutter speed should technically just give you a completely black screen.
Yep.
So how is he getting this ultra crisp cinematic footage in the dark?
Well, that is kind of the ultimate paradox of filming a haunted house. So when a scare actor jumps out, they are moving incredibly fast.
So I continue my day tour, but this kind of stuff always happens to me in the haunt.
I can't help it.
That's okay.
If Rich used a standard slow shutter speed to try and let more light into the camera, that jump scare would just be this smeared blur of motion.
Oh, I see. It wouldn't look scary. It would just look messy.
Precisely. So he needs the fast shutter to freeze the action and make the monster look crisp and terrifying.
Okay, but what about the light?
Right, so to compensate for the severe lack of light, he has to rely on cutting-edge camera tech. He's utilizing these dual native ISO sensors that can digitally amplify the available light.
Without making it look all snowy and noisy.
Exactly, without introducing a ton of digital noise. And he pairs that with incredibly fast, wide-open lenses that basically suck in whatever tiny ambient glow is coming from the theatrical lighting.
To walk into a dark room, freeze a jump scare, and make it look like a Hollywood horror film.
Not to mention, he has to do all of this while physically walking backwards through an obstacle course.
I mean, trying to capture cinematic footage in a haunted house sounds like trying to shoot a high-end nature documentary, right?
Yeah.
Except you're locked inside a dark closet, and the wildlife is actively trying to make you pee your pants.
You know, that physical danger is very real. He's dodging pneumatic troughs, navigating uneven floors, and trying to avoid the actors who are just hyper-focused on terrifying the host. Consider a location like Pennhurst Asylum, featured on the show.
Oh, right.
And now here I am, on the very steps of this historic building in Spring City, Pennsylvania.
Jim Werner, the operations manager there, is running a premium, terrifying modern attraction inside a real, historically significant site that originally opened in 1908.
So he has to perform a miraculous balancing act.
Exactly. He must deliver top-tier, adrenaline-pumping scares to thousands of demanding customers while strictly adhering to modern fire codes and simultaneously maintaining a deep, respectful stewardship of the property's very real, very heavy history.
Based on a respect for the history, we have worked very diligently to be respectful to the history of this property. And I know there's some people who are never going to like what we're doing, and that's okay. I know that my staff holds this place in the highest level of respect, and they hold the history of this place in the highest level of respect. And we represent this place 99% of the year is historical efforts. For a month of the year, we put on one of the best haunted houses in the world, and that's what pays the bills. That's what lets us keep telling the story of those people who were forgotten here.
Man, it is a phenomenal evolution. We've gone from community volunteers and black plastic bags to high-tech, heavily regulated cinematic nightmare factories.
Yep.
And I think that contrast highlights the true magic of what Spooky Kisses Haunts manages to capture on camera.
They are documenting a fleeting seasonal art form. These incredibly elaborate, immersive worlds exist for maybe 6 weeks out of the year.
Teams of artists spend months building them. Actors pour their sweat and vocal cords into bringing them to life. And then, come November, they are torn down and packed away.
Yeah, they just vanish.
But by combining Rich's relentless technical indie filmmaking grit with Spooky's genuine vulnerability and fear, they are providing fans with a permanent cinematic record of an industry built entirely on temporary illusions.
That's very well said.
So, the next time you walk into your local haunt this October, I want you to look past the fog. Think about the thousands of hours of invisible engineering, the strict fire code compliance keeping you safe,
The psychology.
and the absolute sweat that went into orchestrating those 5 minutes of you screaming your head off.
It completely shifts your perspective. You start to view the people hiding in the shadows not just as monsters, but as dedicated performers and engineers executing a highly choreographed dance.
Which leaves us with one final, slightly philosophical thought to mull over. As humans, we spend our entire adult lives trying to mitigate risk, avoid danger, and minimize anxiety. We lock our doors at night, we buy comprehensive insurance, we avoid walking down dark alleys. So, is the true underlying appeal of a haunted house that it is the only place in the modern world where we can experience pure, unadulterated, primal terror with the absolute comforting guarantee of a safe exit?